in Delaware.
This week, it's the Philadelphia Police Department versus the Hispanic community and the gay community. Inside Story coming up.
This is Inside Story with Mark Howard. Our insiders today are Chuck Stone of the Philadelphia Daily News, political activist Mary Hertig, Brian Tierney, political consultant, and Herb Homer of WWDB Radio. And now, here is Action News senior correspondent Mark Howard.
Good morning. For several weeks now, we have been watching a brewing feud between the Hispanic community in Philadelphia and the police department, the powers that be. This was last Monday night when several city officials, John White there, the managing director, trying to talk to people to see what it is that they want to know, Jim White, I'm sorry, want to know what's going on in this city, why they feel they're being picked on. In fact, Mr. White said he wasn't even able to get a word in edgewise. The community very upset, in particular with investigation of the killing of Stephen Crespo. They say if it had been the other way around, if Puerto Ricans had been accused of killing a white young man, the police would have moved quicker. It's a situation that is not getting out of hand, but certainly getting very nasty. We're hearing politicians on both sides of the issue. In particular, we're hearing from Angel Ortiz, the Puerto Rican city councilman in Philadelphia, saying it's really unfair. Chuck, I guess the question is the Hispanic community in Philadelphia being treated unfairly as you see it?
Oh, yeah. I think they're being treated unfairly, not by the police necessarily only, but also by everybody. I think they have become the new invisible people. They're being treated unfairly not only by the police, but by the economic structure, by jobs. They don't do well in any area. So I think there's mistreatment all the way around. I think people ignore them. There's a linguistic barrier there and so forth. But what we're doing is reaping the seeds and the fruits of a pattern and a history of neglect and disdain.
Mary, what do you think?
Well, if we trace it back, this is not new. In 1985, following the tragic killing of a police officer in Philadelphia, the police initiated a shameful and vengeful roundup of 80 Puerto Rican men. And that incident led to some constructive changes vis-a-vis police behavior towards Hispanics. They did step up minority recruitment, Latino recruitment for the police department, as well as open a mini station. But I think you are seeing incredible passions after the two killings. Stephen Crespo was one, but they also had a police shooting of Eddie Cruz several weeks ago. And if you look at, Chuck's right, it's not just the police department, it's also the district attorney's office. Very interesting incident a year ago. Albert, I think his name is Castro, a young man arrested in South Philadelphia following a gang fight with some Italian teenagers, charged with aggravated assault. Albert Castro is from a good family. One of his brothers is a police officer. Came before the judge of the district attorney office, asked for $1.5 million bail. Of course, the family couldn't raise that money. Albert Castro languished in the detention center for 5 months, came to trial, and was acquitted. Compare that to the alleged assailant of Stephen Crespo, who was given $60,000 bail, and he walked. So you have to look at that kind of inequitable treatment.
And you don't think it's a coincidence?
I certainly do not.
Brian?
I don't agree with that at all, Mary, but I think that there's probably not a group in Philadelphia that doesn't feel that they're being treated unfairly, whether they be ethnic whites, Italians and Irish and Poles from Kensington in the Northeast, whether it be blacks in North Philadelphia, the people from Cambodia don't feel they're being treated fairly. I think it's just indicative of a city with restraining resources, a lot of tension, and a lot of the problems that you have in any urban area. So I think everybody feels they're being treated unfairly. It could be the Hispanic community has never had quite its share of political power, and they might feel even more untreated fairly. But really, this is not a good example. The Crespo situation cannot at all be compared to the Sean Daly situation, where you had a young man who happened to be on a corner and was murdered, versus this situation where you had a young man who was not committing a capital crime, certainly, but he was stripping a car. He was committing a crime, and in that act, somebody threw a pipe wrench from some sort of a distance and accidentally killed him. Now, that is a crime, of course, to have done that, to have killed that young man, but the young man was also committing some kind of a crime.
You think, though,
and it's a lot different than Sean Daly.
But you think the police handling of the situation was the same as if it had been the other way around, that the non-Hispanic had been killed, do you?
The guy has been arrested who is allegedly has done this. You know, put yourself in the position of these cops. I'm sick and tired of the cops getting picked on in this city. Would you want that job? I wouldn't want that job. They're out there every day. They're facing animosity on the streets, hatred. They're actually having people trying to subvert what they're trying to accomplish for the good of everybody else. And all we do is pick on the cops. And I think it's unfair.
They make no mistakes, do they?
They do make mistakes.
A lot of mistakes?
They do make mistakes, but they do an awful lot of good things. And I'll bet you that I'll say they commit 5% mistakes, and I'm creating too many mistakes than they actually create, but I'll say it's 5% mistakes, and it's 95% they're doing the right thing, and gosh, these people never get a break. And it's not right.
I would like the viewers of this program to send me a postcard when they have been treated fairly by the police. Anyone who gets locked up for committing a crime or anything that the police does is always treated unfairly. So to say that the Hispanic community in general is being untreated fairly by the police department, if you don't commit a crime, you're not going to be treated unfairly by the police department. Of course, the Hispanic community in America has people, we have bent over backward for the Hispanic community. A lot of you may agree with me. We have 3 million illegal aliens that they suddenly gave amnesty to. Okay, you can come in. That was not for the Poles, that was not for the Russians, it was not for the Irish, it was not for the Italians. 3 million illegals, everything's fine, no problem. Bring the culture into America, let's change the language. Do you see Italian and English on anything? It's Hispanic and English. Now they want dual language, they want the...
When's the last time in Philadelphia that a group of white men
Now the other thing,
up?
no, wait a minute. When Neil Ferber was put on death row for 13 months, in prison for 4 years, was he untreated? Did the white community? He's untreated fairly. The man is out now, innocent, walking around, producing, working in a community. Why is it every time a minority gets locked up, the whole police department gets criticized? The whole police department gets criticized, and all of us are supposed to have a guilt. I have no guilt.
I know a lot of groups. That's the district attorney's office, which is part of the problem of Philadelphia.
But there were police involved in that lockup, Chuck.
Well, how many white men?
Study the case.
How many white men?
The Jewish community didn't jump up and say, oh, the police are treating Neil Ferber unfairly.
Okay,
to this day, they're not saying it.
Be polite. Mary, you get the last word. Answer the one point that Brian made, which seems valid. Every new minority in town, the Cambodian citizens who arrive here, some of the boat people who come here, Hispanics, blacks, every minority feels they're being picked on. Even people in the Northeast. Everybody seems to feel they're being picked on. Is something fundamentally wrong?
This is a city under siege. Neighborhoods eating each other alive and in battle with each other. So therefore, this sense of paranoia and persecution is pretty prevalent. But I think you have to look at the statistics. Who's sitting in the detention center? 20 to 25% of the young people in there are Hispanic. They only represent 5% of the city's population.
And you don't think they're committing 20 to 25% of the crimes?
I think that says something about the bail that's been set, that they are unable to reach, and therefore they languish there until their trial comes up.
Judges okay the bail. The DA only requests it, so then you're condemning the entire justice.
Yeah, we'll be looking at that.
You guys have been living in 1861. You'd apologize for slavery.
No,
okay.
I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't.
Okay, we'll be right back to talk about some new recruitment efforts in the Philadelphia Police Department on behalf of the gay community. Inside Story continues.
If you're gossiping about it, it's on Donahue.
He was 48 and I was 21.
Now, did he leave?
Did he leave?
His wife?
Yeah, he eventually divorced. They were divorced during the span of our relationship. And he also had 3 stepchildren that were older.
Why are so many old men getting involved with young women? Next, Donahue.
Be sure to watch Donahue, 9 a.m. tomorrow.
She prayed to God all night, help me, please help me, and she was hearing voices and she would hold her head.
On the next Sally Jesse Raphael, an inside look at the madness of schizophrenia.
Tumbleweeds were chasing me. I felt like birds up in the sky were trying to get me.
I held her all night and she cried and sobbed and it was really horrible. She walked like a zombie.
Schizophrenia is a very hard thing to live in. I may have it too.
The horror of schizophrenia on the next Sally.
Watch Sally Jesse Raphael, 10:30 a.m. tomorrow.
Coordinated muscle power. Fantastic precision. Incredibly coordinated muscle control.
We're vitally interested in muscle. We're concerned with 40 muscle diseases and over 1 million people who suffer from them. We're research and patient care. We're the Muscular Dystrophy Association. People help MDA because MDA helps people.
Here they come, the new American workers. Educated, bright, flexible, full of energy and eager to learn. They're different, whiz kids with experience, and their numbers are growing every day. Informed employers will judge them by their ability, not by their date of birth. Use the experience of a lifetime.
Story floating around Philadelphia the past week that the Philadelphia Police Department has answered a request from the gay community and has begun to actively recruit gay men and women to be on the police department. The gay community says that after many years of arguing, they have finally convinced the police that they should in fact do this, and that they have set up now a recruitment effort at Giovanni's Room at 12th and Pine, picture here taken at night. It's a bookstore, a gay bookstore, gay and lesbian bookstore, and the police apparently now have put forms in there so people can apply to become police officers. I guess the question that comes out of all of this is, should gay people be treated like any other minority in the city? They are a minority. Should they be treated like any other minority and be actively recruited to be on the police department, Brian?
I knew you'd start with me, Mark.
Why not?
Yeah, that's,
why not?
I think that, you know, the police force should be open to anybody who wants to be on it, as long as they conform to the rules of the police force, whatever those rules should be at any particular time. I don't think that gays are a minority, the same as a minority is of somebody who's black or Hispanic. Being homosexual is, I believe, in the end, a personal choice to make. You might have an inclination to be, but in the end, it is a personal choice. Being black is not a personal choice. You're born with it. Being Hispanic is not a personal choice. You're born with it. I got to tell you, though, there is something in this whole thing which does trouble me, and there seems something a bit odd about the city going way out of its way to stand around homosexual bookstores to hand out applications to join the police. I'm not sure what it is, and you try to be open-minded about the whole thing and say we're a large city, we can have everybody involved in the police force, but I think there's something out there that the average person sitting home says it's a bit odd about standing outside of a homosexual bookstore.
Mary, treat them like minorities?
Historical significance to this question. A month ago, gays and lesbians around the nation celebrated the 20th anniversary of the gay rights movement. And the gay rights movement traces its history to the Stonewall Rebellion. Stonewall Rebellion was an incident where the gays, for the first time in history, fought back against police harassment, police violence, and police intimidation of gays at the Stonewall Bar in Lower Manhattan. There is a strong history of violence and intimidation by the police departments around this nation against gays. In the 1970s, there were many police officers arrested and convicted in the city of Philadelphia for shaking down gay club and coffee house and bar owners, extorting money from them so that could be left alone. And those police officers eventually were convicted. I think a recruitment effort is important for two reasons. One, if lesbian and gay police officers are stationed in neighborhoods where gays live, where gays congregate, where gays socialize, and there is a need for police intervention, theoretically, these officers would be more sensitive to the situation. The second reason is to combat the homophobic response of many police officers. Theoretically, prejudice gets undone by getting to know somebody as a human being.
So, Irving.
I think homosexuality is a hidden minority. Chuck is obvious. Hispanics are obvious most of the time.
Chuck is obvious what?
Chuck is obviously black minority.
Okay, let the record show here.
Let the record show it.
An obvious male minority.
Whatever that case may be, Mary, whatever makes you happy. But homosexuality is a minority that is hidden. Nobody knows whether a guy's gay or whether he isn't gay. I personally don't care, and I think for the police department to stand outside of that bookstore and recruit, if a gay wants to join a police department, let him do it. If he plays around in the police station, lock him up. But this business about special treatment, What kind of treatment? Well,
it's recruiting.
Recruiting what? Are they being prevented from joining the police department?
Are they going into North Philadelphia to recruit more blacks? Are they going? Correct.
Yes, they're advertising on 2 black radio stations
Do you object to that?
No, because there is an obvious discriminatory policy against minorities, black minorities and Hispanic. But a gay can walk into the police department. But there is discrimination against gays and lesbians. When's the last time a gay was denied being on the police department?
Nobody's saying they've been denied. This is an active recruitment effort.
Are there sodomy laws in the state of Pennsylvania?
Charlie, sort this out for us. This is very complicated.
No, it's not.
Sort it out.
It's the law of ethnic and sexual preference succession. Each group is coming into its own. You said that they go into the Irish community, but back in the 1850s when the Irish were in New York City, they turned over the tables in Tammany Hall because they couldn't even be allowed to become members. So they did try to recruit Irish people.
Is anyone preventing a gay from becoming a cop today if he wants to volunteer?
No, but what they do, as Mary pointed out, there's been a pattern and a history of homosexual... Huh?
Why don't you answer the question? Are gays being prevented from joining the police department?
No, but there's discrimination.
No, then why recruit them?
No, you recruit them.
All the gays want to join the police department, let them join.
Or you recruit them to aggressively open up and communicate to the gay community that they are welcomed. A lot of gays react to the history of being beaten up and being persecuted in the city.
And do you think that being gay, like being black, or Jewish, or Irish?
Anything in this country. This is a pluralistic society, so the pluralism isn't defined by your color or your religion. It's defined by being a handicapped person. In other words, they didn't choose to become handicapped.
No, but on the federal list of all the things that you can't discriminate against,
they don't include gays.
They do not include gays because
they will one day.
But everything on that federal list is a condition over which the individual has no control.
Well,
is that true?
We don't know the percentage of gays who do not have control over their genetic and chromosomal arrangements. You don't know what percentage that is.
And I think that's beside the point. I think the significance is
I'm glad.
Have considered themselves a minority group and need a civil rights movement, if you will, because they have experienced discrimination, harassment, lack of equal access and equal opportunity.
I got to tell you, though, the gay lobby in this country is very, very powerful. And if you don't think it is, just look at the amount of money we're spending on AIDS research. It is truly a major problem, but the amount of money we're spending on AIDS research is billions and billions, and Congress has acted to the will of people in the vocal list. How many people are dropping dead of heart attacks?
That's not fair.
Wait a second. How many people are dropping dead of heart attacks? How many people are dropping dead of colon cancer? All the other problems. And really, realistically, when you look at the numbers and the amount of people exposed to AIDS versus, say, hepatitis and our research dollars...
That's a gross misrepresentation.
No, you look at the
AIDS is not a gay problem. 70% of the AIDS cases in New York are non-gays, and 60% in San Francisco are non-gays.
Okay, but who has been...
needles?
No. But that funding has not been by people who are drug addicts marching in the streets. It's been homosexuals that have pressured Congress into doing it. Now, I'm not saying that they are 80% of the problem. They're only 20% of the people dying of AIDS. But still, that's where the lobby has come from.
Another tough subject. A new poll on abortion, and the results could be bothering a lot of politicians. We'll talk about it when Inside Story continues.
This is Jeopardy! It's a great way to start your night. It's fun.
Where is the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked?
It's risky.
Alex, all of it.
Play along and see if you can question Jeopardy's answers.
Hi, I'm Alex Trebek, inviting you to join us for America's favorite challenge, Jeopardy! Weeknights at 7, right here on Channel 6.
Ramco presents Vince and Larry Smash Hits with timeless classics like
Never met a grill like you.
And everyone who doesn't buckle up will remember the heart and bone-breaking sounds of
You've got me wrapped around your fender.
Yes, they're all here. All the hits that sent Vince and Larry into the dashboard and through the windshields. Best of all, you can scream along when you don't wear your safety belt. Order now. Ambulances are standing by. Hey, you too can learn a lot from a dummy. Buckle your safety belt today.
Before you place that gram of coke in your nose, that piece of crack in your glass pipe, think hard, because I'm going to hurt you. It's time to join the mayor's resistance to drugs. Drugs are at every level of our society. It makes no difference whether you're black, brown, white, yellow, or red. If you are not part of the solution, then you are definitely part of the problem.
When you join the World Affairs Council, you get invited to some very interesting functions where you'll come face to face with presidents, secretaries of state, ambassadors, and corporate luminaries from all over the world. You'll also meet some very interesting fellow members sitting right next to you. But one word of caution, don't join the World Affairs Council for the cuisine. Join for the brain food.
The recent Supreme Court ruling in the Missouri case seems to have put abortion back on the front burner. This demonstration last January in Washington has been labeled by some people as the largest ever in the nation's capital. Upwards of 500,000 people gathered there to urge the Supreme Court to sustain Roe v. Wade. Now, it's possible that they'll overturn that, and a poll came out last weekend that indicates that if in fact the business of deciding about abortions went back to the state governments, something like 2/3 of the people in the United States think that their state government should let abortion remain legal in one form or another. Modifications exist, but by and large, about 2 to 1, most American people feel that some degree of legal abortion should exist. This becomes a very tough question for politicians who have taken a position one way or the other, and certainly if they are pro-life, as it's called, or anti-abortion, they could end up in trouble. Mary, do you think it's going to figure in any races we're seeing?
That poll, let me address the poll first. That poll did have 59% of Americans supporting a woman's right to choose an abortion, as opposed to 38% who believe that we should outlaw abortion. However, only 38% of Americans believed that it was critical in their decision-making about who they would vote for. 38% believe it would not be a factor for them in selecting a candidate.
Well, now, as I remember
That's
the
very
numbers,
significant.
let me just run them by you. 38% said that if a candidate was pro-life, they'd vote against him. 20% said it the other way around, that if he was pro-life, they'd vote for him. So it was 2 to 1. It was 2 to 1 against the right-to-life candidates, if you look at those numbers.
But there were 38% who said it wouldn't make much of a difference to them what the candidate's position was on that issue, which says to me that although they support a woman's right to have an abortion, it is not the critical factor that they look at when they make a decision about who to vote for.
So you don't think it's going to be a political
inconsistent.
thing? I mean,
I think it's going to be race by race, and I think folks generally elect candidates for reasons other than abortion.
Brian, what do you think?
I think it is going to be race by race, state by state, and I think it's going to really vary. But I think in the end, to get into the role of candidate consultant kind of a thing, really the secret for a candidate is to not be too far to either side of the issue. To say, I'm personally opposed to abortion, but I respect the rights of women. That's where the great majority of people are. If you look at that same poll that you're talking about, 43% of the people, or no, I'm sorry, 62% of the people said that they would vote for some kinds of restrictions on abortion. So most people are very ambiguous, excuse me, about.
We understand, right?
Thank you, about abortion. They're on the one hand, they feel that there are certain rights of the mother. On the other hand, they see the rights of the unborn child. And politicians who can address that middle ground and really reflect how people feel will do well.
I think, in fairness, the exceptions are always for rape, incest, maternal life threatening, and me. Meaning, it's always, but let me have my personal freedom is a big part of it, too.
Chuck, key question. Do you think it really will matter in a race like the Jim Florio race in Jersey, where Corder has been pro-life, Florio has been pro-choice?
It can matter not only in New Jersey, but also in Florida, where there are key races. For example, there is a doctor who's performed abortions, who's a state legislator. I think the anti-abortion, and I refuse to call those people pro-life, because I think a woman has the right to have an abortion, and I think my feeling about life is as strong and as passionate as anybody who's opposed to abortion. So I don't call them pro-life, I call them anti-abortion. But they are more organized, they're more fanatical, they're more dedicated, and they can be the balance of power. The anti-abortionists remind me of Mr. Dooley's definition of a fanatic. It is a person who does what he thinks the Lord would do if he knew the facts of the case.
Irving, you get the last word on this one.
Well, I think the pro-life movement is alive and well in America, Chuck. Whether or not they are going to go into the ballot box and vote, and I agree with Mary, when it comes to me, then the time will tell. I think the biggest objection that the pro-life advocates have is they don't want their tax dollars paying for the abortion. There may be a compromise along the middle of the road. I doubt whether Roe v. Wade will be overturned, but you will see the stopping of tax dollars for abortion.
We've pretty much seen that, certainly on the national level already.
That is the big issue, the tax dollars.
So much for the items which are in the news today. Now, let's get personal. It's time for everybody's own little inside story of the week, little personal touch to end our program with. Mary Herdig, what's your inside story this week?
My inside story follows on our discussion about abortion. In November, Philadelphia voters will elect a new city controller. And the Republican candidate for that race is Joe Rox. Joe Rox is a state senator from the 4th District in Philadelphia, and he is one of the loudest anti-abortion voices in Harrisburg. Will pro-choice voters in Philadelphia vote for Joe Rox in order to vacate his seat in Harrisburg and to replace him with a pro-choice candidate?
Spoken like a true Democrat.
Right.
Wow. Chuck Stone.
It's speculative.
Mine is also, my inside story is Philadelphia, the Institute for Contemporary Art. A bill was passed in the Senate this past week which would deny federal funding to ICA because they recently held an exhibition of what the senators call were obscene and indecent art, the Mapplethorpe art. But the bill says that you can deny funds to any act or arts organization that promotes, disseminates, or produces work that denigrates, debases, or reviles a person, group, or class of citizens on the basis of race, creed, handicap, age, or national origin, which means there are no more Jewish, black, Polish, or Italian jokes.
Irv Homer.
My inside story this week is that there is going to be a federal investigation of every turbine that has been rebuilt since deregulation to find out whether or not those fans are reconstructed as they reconstruct boat propellers. There's a strong possibility that those fans are being taken out of the turbines and any chip fan is not replaced with a new one, but it is reconstructed as they do boat propellers. And if I were taking a bet, I would bet that there's going to be a national investigation on used parts in turbine fan engines.
That's a scary story. Brian, your inside story.
Actually, inside story and a half. First inside story is for Chuck, who said that I'd be the kind of guy who wouldn't want to free the slaves. Remember, Chuck, it was Republicans and Abe Lincoln who freed the slaves. Remember that. The second inside story gives regionalism a new twist. We're talking a lot about Camden and Philadelphia regionalism. Down in Washington, D.C., it seems like in Virginia, they bring their homeless over to Washington and drop them off on the bridge. The Washington police did it with a new twist. Last week, they rounded up 24 prostitutes and with police cars blinking, marched them 1.25 miles over the bridge into Virginia. I call that sharing your assets.
But how did you know?
And finally, from the mailbag, a couple of short items that are worthy of your attention. Your assembled speakers are one fantastic bunch, amusing, informative, hot-headed, highly opinionated, and we love them. And one other viewer writes, at times I feel sorry for Brian because everyone jumps all over him for his views, but he seems to take it well. It's time for the show to be extended to an hour. Write that to somebody higher than us. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next Sunday, same time, Inside Story.
Wasn't there a song called On to Virginia? The letter was from his mother.
I said the Republican. Wait a second.
The letter was from Brian's mother. Next week I'm going to get him. He'll put us in the oven. I'm tired of you with this slavery. Come on. 125 years. Enough already, man. The last year you hit us 8 times with the slavery question.